Have you ever tried to call someone in another state and realized it's 3 hours earlier there? Maybe you've watched New Year's Eve on TV and noticed it happens 4 different times across the same country. The United States is huge and so are its time differences. But have you ever stopped to ask, why does one country need so many time zones? In this video, we'll explore the history, science, and geography behind America's time zones and why they're not as simple as they seem. Let's go back to a time before time zones. In the early 1800s, every town kept its own time. Noon was when the sun was highest in the sky. That's it. So in one town, it might be 12 p.m., but 10 miles away, it could already be 12:04. That didn't matter much until trains arrived. When railroads connected cities, keeping track of hundreds of local times became a nightmare. Imagine trying to make a train schedule where every stop has a different clock. By the late 1800s, rail companies were desperate for order. In 1883, they created 4 main time zones for the continental U.S. Eastern, Central, Mountain, and Pacific. This became known as the Day of Two Noons. On the 18th of November, 1883, people in cities across the country adjusted their clocks to match the new standard times. The next year, the system worked so well that the government made it official. So why those 4 zones? The Earth rotates 360 degrees in 24 hours. Divide 360 by 24, and you get 15 degrees per hour. That's one time zone. Each U.S. zone is roughly 15 degrees wide, starting from the Atlantic Ocean in the east to the Pacific in the west. But the lines aren't straight. They zigzag to match state borders and population centers. That's why states like Idaho or Kentucky are split in 2. Time zones aren't just science, they're politics and convenience. The story doesn't stop there. The U.S. controls more than just the 48 states. Alaska stretches far to the northwest, and Hawaii sits in the middle of the Pacific. Then there are American territories like Puerto Rico, Guam, and American Samoa, each thousands of miles apart. So today, the U.S. officially covers 9 time zones. 1. Atlantic Standard, Puerto Rico, U.S. Virgin Islands. 2. Eastern. 3. Central. 4. Mountain. 5. Pacific. 6. Alaska. 7. Hawaii, Aleutian. 8. Samoa. 9. Comoro, Guam, and Northern Mariana Islands. That means when it's 8 a.m. in New York, it's already 10 p.m. The same day in Guam, a full 14 hours ahead. You'd think time zones follow state lines, but not always. For example, Western Kentucky is in the Central Zone, but Eastern Kentucky is in the Eastern Zone. Parts of Florida are split too. Pensacola runs on Central Time, while Miami runs on Eastern. This happens because people often choose convenience over geography. Businesses, schools, and TV schedules matter more than lines on a map. If your city does most of its business with another in a different zone, you might switch to match them. The U.S. Department of Transportation actually handles time zone borders today. They decide changes based on what's best for commerce and convenience. Time zones shape almost everything when we sleep, work, travel, or watch TV. Airlines plan carefully to keep flights on schedule across time zones. Stock markets open and close at exact times nationwide. Even national events like sports finals or presidential debates are timed to reach viewers in every zone. But they can also cause confusion Ever miss a Zoom meeting because someone said 3 o'clock and forgot to mention which one? Time zones keep the country running, but they also remind us how vast it is. Some people have asked, what if the U.S. used just one time? In theory, that would make scheduling simple, no more confusion. But imagine waking up for work at what your clock says is 2 a.m., just because the sun rises late where you live. Time zones exist to match daylight to human activity. Without them, half the country would be living in darkness during their workday. So while one time zone America sounds simple, it wouldn't make much sense for daily life. Time zones are something we take for granted until we realize how much they shape our days. They're part science, part history, and part compromise. From the railroad age to the internet age, America's time zones have helped keep a giant country running on schedule mostly. So the next time you text a friend 3 hours away, remember, you're not just far apart in space, you're living in a slightly different slice of time. And that, in its own way, is kind of amazing. If you enjoyed learning something new today, consider subscribing for more videos that make sense of the world, one topic at a time.